Hi everybody, my name's Tara and I'm from ArtsEkta. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do the henna. So you're going to start in your box, you should have some paper and pencils. And we're just going to get stuck in. So this here is an original henna. It's very traditional in India, usually used for weddings and different celebrations and things like that. So this is what we're going to be doing. We're just going to be doing it on paper and we're going to stencil our hands. You can practice later with the henna cones, but just be aware that some do have allergens, so just make sure that you're not allergic to it before you try it. So we're going to start with just placing our hand on the paper and tracing around our hand. Just like this. You can have your hand up or you can have your hand down. It's up to yourself which way you'd like to do it. So you're going to start just like this. And to start with, I'm just going to design use my design up with the pencil first, and then I'm going to go over it with the henna once I'm ready, just so I don't make any mistakes. So I'm just going to use my head to think of a design, but there are other designs you can use, and you can use your phone to look up different designs and things like that. So I'm just going to start on here. And you can make it as simple or as detailed as you like, it's up to yourself. There are some wee stencils that are in your box as well that you can use for a design, or you can make up your own, it's entirely up to you. Just put a big flower at the side and then work from there. It is easier if you start from one side and work your way over and up. Just going up the fingers as well. Usually start sort of there and then you can work up the fingers and you can go down the wrist as well a wee bit. I'm just going to keep my design nice and simple just to show you. There we go, finished my design on page there. So once you're happy with your design, then you can start using the henna and go over it. We have a couple of different hennas that we can use. So this one here is the traditional henna, which comes out as a sort of brown colour. This one would be the natural henna that you can use. And it's also semi-permanent. And then you've also got these ones here. It's got a couple of different colours. So these are coloured henna, but they aren't permanent, they will wash off. So for this one, I'm just going to use the semi-permanent henna just to show you. So there should be a little needle in the top and you just got to pull that out. And then baby wipes are always handy, just for wiping up your mess. So all you need to do then is basically trace your design over with the henna. If you start at the opposite side of where your hand is, that way you can move over so you're not using your hand and scraping it across. So I'm just going to make a wee start here. The henna can come out quite thick, so just be careful when you are pulling the henna out. Don't squeeze the tube too much. You can always go over if it's too thin, but it does come out quite thick to start. If you do want really, really thick lines, you can use a pair of scissors to sort of cut the top of the tube off, so it does come out thicker, but I find it easier to work when it's a wee bit thinner. I'll just finish this a wee bit and then show you so far. Just make sure you have your tube flush to the paper, and then that way the henna goes where you like it to go. If you hold it up, it tends to go everywhere. So I'll just show you, I've done the first wee flower there. I am going to add some more detail into it, and I'm just going to get the rest of the design out first. And just every once in a while give the top of your tube a wee wipe, just to make sure there's no henna on the bottom of it. Once you do your full design, then you can go in with a bit of detail as well. So if you are doing it on your own hands or your friend's hands, just be aware it takes usually about half an hour to 45 minutes to dry. Once it does dry, it hardens and it'll start to crumble off, and that's completely normal. You just let that go and it'll just come off. It'll come up like quite a light orange first, and then as the day goes on, it'll darken down a wee bit as well. It usually stays for about, depending on your skin tone, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks. But it can change depending on what way your skin is. If you are sensitive to things, I would do a tester first, just a wee blob on your hand to dry it off and make sure that you don't take a reaction to it or anything. When you are doing the henna, feel free to move the page around just so you can get to the bits easier, just to save you in case you scrape it over. So I'm just going to move this around as I go, just to make sure I'm not touching any of the design already. Henna usually goes all over the hand, right up the fingertips as well. It's used in traditional Indian weddings, so the night before they will have a henna party, and the bride-to-be and some of the other guests as well will be covered in henna from their hands all the way down to about there on their arms, and the same on their feet as well, so they'll get it on their foot and up their calf as well. The idea is that the henna will bring prosperity and health through the marriage. So the tradition is the longer the henna stays, that shows how successful the marriage will be. So this has been used for a long, long time. Henna comes from a plant. That's how they make it, so it is all natural. You do get different hennas that are made of different things, but the safest henna to use is the natural one. maybe design like this. And if you do have some coloured ones in, you can add the coloured ones in as well. If you want to add a bit of colour in. Maybe I'll do a bit of that and show you as well. Maybe put some colour on my flower. Flowers are a very traditional henna design. Sort of similar to mandalas, where you start in the middle and you grow out from there. I will show you some pictures and different designs and things. Just once I finish this. So this is my full design then finished. You can go in and add some detail in. I'm going to do that with the coloured one. So once you're done with this, just give it a good clean, and then if you can pop the pin back in, that keeps it fresh and keeps it better for longer, just like that. So I'm going to add some pink in for my flower. If it is close, just use a pair of scissors to just snip off the top. And then before you do push it out on the paper, just push a wee bit out on baby wipe or a cloth just to make sure that it's coming out nice and smooth. So just like that. And then I'm going to go through my flower just with some wee design here. So as I said, this one isn't semi-permanent, so it will wash off once you wash your hands. This one will be handy for anyone who does have any allergens. It won't be as bad as the other one. So just add some pink dots in. Just going to add some more in here. Usually the traditional hennas are very detailed in design. I'm not sure if you can see it in this picture, but it's like very, very detailed. Let's see if I can find another one that is the same. So here's a close-up of two hands. As you can see, there's a lot of detail involved in that. So you can make it as detailed as you want or as simple as you want. It's up to yourself. So just add some dots in. Normally the whole hand is covered. If it is the palm of the hand, it's tradition that the whole palm would be covered. On the back of the hand, not so much. It would be more of a simple design. So that's sort of what I'm doing here, is the back of the hand one. I find when I'm doing henna, the back of the hand is easier because it's easier not to touch things when you've got the back of the hand done, instead of standing around waiting for a while. So I tend to lean more towards doing the back of the hand than the front. As well, my skin would be quite sensitive, so it does wash off quicker on me. So I find that the back of my hand, it does last longer, where the front of my hand, it would tend to only last about a week or so. So I'm going to add some more colours in. There's a wee funnel one you can just use to pop that on. Just make sure you clean the end of the funnel first. I'm going to add some blue into it. Scissors. Just make sure when you're cutting it, don't cut off too far up or it will come out really, really thick. When it does come out thick, it is harder to control. It can be quite messy when it starts to sort of go everywhere. If you do get it somewhere that you don't want it, just really quickly get the baby wipe and you can just wipe it off. With the blue you can sort of move it about and get different sort of tones and things like that, which I'm going to do at the bottom of the leaves. It gets more difficult the more you add in. You sort of have to move your gauge around a bit more. If you are doing it on yourself or your friend, if you're sort of the hands facing you, start at the top and work your way down, and that means there's less chance of you going up and smudging it. can move the henna around and sort of get the different tones of brown and things with the original one. I tend to just leave it quite thick and do simple lines, but you can sort of shade it out a wee bit and add different shades in. That's handy for when you're adding in lots of detail and things like that. So I'm just going to add some more in just this bit leaf here. Can go in and add more detail on if you're not happy. If you want a bit more detail, you can go back, and it will be more difficult to do because you've already things on it, but you can add in. So I'm just going to add in a few flowers here, just like that. As I've said, you can work on down to the wrist as well. That's sort of used in the traditional methods. It would go down the wrist. I'm just going to do it just a wee bit down here and keep it mainly to the hand. I'm going to leave it there just in case it gets a bit too messy. So there we go, it's the full design, and then I've added some colour in as well. So if you are going to do it on your hands and you are going to add a bit of colour in, just remember the colour does come off, but the brown won't, so that'll stay in your arms, and it's just finished like that. So in your box you should have some stencils. If you're not comfortable drawing freehand, there are some stencils in the box that you can use, so you just peel that off and then you can use the stencil to trace around with the henna. So there should be a couple of different wee designs there for the back of the hand, so again they would be quite simple in design and not as full on as the palm designs. And you can either do that, or you can use your head, or you can look up images and things like that, make up your own design as you go along, but just make sure to practice on the paper first so that you have a rough idea of what you'd like to do. Okay, and thank you. Enjoy.